to talk about research initiatives 2025, but as we heard today more than once, is who knows where all the world is going to be in 25. So I'd rather talk, about the near future, because there also are many, many dilemmas and as well as challenges and opportunities facing all universities around the world, but also our university.
We are the arm, the economic arm, the business arm of the university, and we are trying to have as much intellectual property in order to then go and commercialize it in all the various ways. We are also spinning off companies. We are doing licensing agreements with various parties, trying to get funding from the chief scientist. We have several projects. Kobe has one successful project that is funded by the chief scientist, so we are helping with that as well.
So we tried several proteins using the same technology and the same method, and now actually we can say that we have a platform for developing recombinant proteins for clinical use in medicine. And actually we set up the company as a startup here in Israel, and the company now developing 5 proteins. One of them is already in clinical trials phase 3. And we hope that we can continue the developing of other proteins and to get them into the market in clinical use.
Only 5% of the ocean floor has been seen, and only 50% of the species were discovered. And if you look at numbers, it's really interesting. The humanity as a total puts a lot more money in space research than in ocean research. And although we can debate on that, but ocean has probably more influence on our lives.
My primary research interest is health and wellness in older adults. And from this area of research, you can see that health and wellness of older adults, it doesn't belong to any certain discipline. It doesn't belong to medicine. It doesn't belong to epidemiology. It doesn't belong to public health. So it's intersection between different areas, and we try. So our main goal is to improve health and wellness of older adults, and in that direction, we're trying to consolidate different disciplines.
Main point for me to say is that when we talk about inter versus multidisciplinary, we need to remember that the basic are basic, though sometimes it's not nice and we want to fly with the imagination, but I think in first degrees, BSc, BA, we need to learn in almost interdisciplinary manner, because if not, we don't have the tools for later on PhD and master.
Bring in the best researchers we can find. This is what we should concentrate on. Once we have them, they'll find ways to discuss with each other. They'll be the ones who will find, Tali and Kobe will find each other, not because the library tells them to do so, but because they're interested in finding new avenues, so they will find each other whether in the same faculty or not. We need to bring in good people. This is what we should be concentrating on.
Science. And I think it's obvious that we have to reconsider the structural organization of the university. It's a thing of the past. It's a historical accident that this is the current organization, and we should rethink it. I don't think that I have a solution for that, but one direction could be a much more shallow and less focused organizational structure in which departments or fields of knowledge are organized into, let's call them schools for the sake of the argument, which are much smaller but much more focused and which are much more flexible for collaboration.
So I don't think that the issue is going between natural science or humanity or social study. I think that the question is, are we talking about evolution of new science, which I hope we do, or are we talking about blends, different recipes of being more attractive? I would prefer the first.
The question is whether we can be original enough, to go beyond the importance. And I'm not saying, that this area or this discipline or anything else should be put aside or should be given this priority or other. On the contrary, I think that we should be creative enough to think how we take it behind and beyond the borders, I mean, of life sciences, biology, and so on, and go out from it to something new that really does not exist in other places.
We should have, in my view, an interdisciplinary forum which would be inside the faculty, of course, but even beyond the faculties, above faculty, inter-faculty forum. For example, just as an example for the environmental sciences, each and every faculty could make a contribution. Each and every faculty have a department that's related to environment. As an example, geriatric is the same thing, gerontology is the same thing, of course.
If Haifa University wants to maintain its edge in this field and also want to recruit new researchers, from that audience, maybe the encouragement of scholarships during the last few years of the degree is the right time to start to recruit researchers. Let's say,
I think there is a great opportunity here, but let's speak a moment more in general terms about the future. So one key element, of course, is recruitment. As Kobe has said, we need people that are able to think out of the box. And as Shuli has pointed out before, we have a rigid structure. All universities have rigid structures. It's very, very, very difficult to intervene on those structures.
So maybe a more simple answer would be to just package what I'm saying we do, but you do, the researchers do, or the students do, or the academics do here, just to package it differently or maybe in a more creative way for the target audience, which is the donors or the research grants, and think not in terms of the faculty of natural sciences or the faculty of education, but maybe the faculty of Alzheimer, the faculty of cancer. I don't know, or maybe it's not a faculty, maybe it's a forum like someone else, like Shai suggested, but this would make our job easier to bring the funds.
Practically, an incubator is a system where you get 80–90% of the budget from the government. And the government somehow doesn't want to form another incubator in this area. So there is no incubator here. I feel it as a venture fund because everyone now comes only to me as an investor because I think this is a need in Haifa. It's a stupid, the whole situation in Haifa, I think is a stupid situation. I feel even that there are two countries. There is a country of Tel Aviv and then is the rest of Israel.
We have to realize that the situation is changing. We are talking about research, good quality research, but the truth of the matter is that in order to do this kind of research, we need money that is either taken from competitive funds, and competition becomes more and more complicated, but at the same time can be generated because we can commercialize some of our products.
I think two departments can quite easily be established, and that would open the interdisciplinary issues, and it would also contribute to get a lot of quality students into university. One thing is there's a cognitive studies department in a number of Israeli universities, and the attempts to establish that here haven't been successful, and I think there, even in this room, I mean, there's some forces which could be helpful in that way. Another thing is there's something called PPE, Philosophy, Politics, and Economics, and there's at least in Jerusalem, there's a very successful department like that. The model is from Oxford. I did my studies at Oxford, and hundreds of students, that's the standard way of getting into the British elite, is to do a first degree in politics, philosophy, and economics.
How do we know who is excellent in the university? How do we know what is an excellent science? It's something that I'm 13 years here in the university. From the place I came from, this was something you talk about. You can like it, you can don't like it. You can like the scoring, you can don't like the scoring. It's up to you. But then, at least in terms of aims, you can be a very good mathematician and not publish for 5–6 years. And people will say that you're working on a very difficult question and you're excellent.